Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Hi, and welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Today, we have with us a very special guest. I've been really looking forward to having this gal on for the longest time. We've met in another program that we were both in together, and I just watched her blossom along the way over the last, 8 or 9 months. So anyway, it's my honor to introduce you to Veronica Nabizadeh, Esquire, because she is a lawyer turned relationship coach, and she is all about helping people have the marriage they want to have. And if you decide that you don't want to stay in that marriage, she helps you break up in a way that's empowering to both parties. So welcome to the show, Veronica. I'm so glad that you joined me.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Jill. And that was so lovely to hear you introduce me to your community. So thank you.
You are welcome. So how did you decide to go from being a lawyer, and what kind of lawyer were you? I know you were helping people with speeding tickets, but beyond that.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll tell you what, I was married 14 years. But I was married 10 years before I had my daughter, until we had our daughter, Clara. And that, she's 4 years old now, and she says to me, "Mommy, you and Daddy argue every day. Can you make it stop?" And when she told me that, it crushed me. And I thought, here I am, an attorney, I'm a highly degreed woman, but I have a child and she's growing up in a toxic environment. And at that moment, I made a commitment to fix my marriage, or to fix what was wrong with me. And that was my decision. And at that point, that's when I learned what was going on in my marriage. And I learned from Terry Real. He's this internationally celebrated relationship and family therapist. And I learned the what behind the why we were arguing so much. And now my daughter is a teenager, and she's independent and just so wise beyond her years. And my husband of almost 24 years of marriage is the biggest supporter of the work I do today. But if it wasn't for my daughter to give me that big wake-up call, that was my turning point, where I knew that I kept my license, like I was saying, because it is very helpful to family members who get speeding tickets. But I knew that once I found what helped me, I knew I did not want to break families apart without helping them first discover their what behind the why they're driving themselves nuts with arguing and being anti-relational with one another. And so I became a divorce mediator, specifically after helping people to give them a choice once they've done the work, to leave with grace and respect and with dignity. We don't have to armor up to unwind the legal instrument of marriage, like what the culture tells us to do. we want to do what's right for the children. And so I became a divorce mediator, and I feel really proud of being a relationship restart coach.
I love that. Like I said, I have watched as your practice has really blossomed and solidified in terms of how you're helping people. And I've been through a divorce, and I respect the the dissolution of a marriage if it's not working. And a marriage is really a contract, and a lot of people think it's something else, but ultimately it's a contract that you make between two people, and you have things that you agree to and they have things that they agree to. And it's entered into it often kind of frivolously. People don't really realize that it's a legal entanglement, and that's what contracts are. And there's things that marriage affords people that, you know, marriage isn't for everybody, you know, and staying married isn't for everybody. And usually the way to stay married, if you want to stay married, is to work on yourself and not expect the other person to change.
Mm.
That's
And
usually
Bill,
the problem.
yeah, I mean, you're singing words to a song that I sing all the time. You know, in law, in business, there is a agreement, and one of the first parts of the agreement is a meeting of the minds. That is often not what happens when people get married. We don't have an agreement or an understanding. A lot of it is expectation or cultural. A lot of it is stunted, and it's not. And who teaches us how to communicate our needs? You know, we've picked up really bad adaptations along the way that maybe worked back in the day when we were in grade school, but they don't work now that we're married and growing a family. So I wrote a book called How to Stay Married by a Divorce Attorney before you throw in the towel, because exactly what you said, Jill, when you look at your partner and can drop all the needs and all the expectations, and you learn how to communicate and to co-create, you can stay together and thrive, and I can help you with that. Or you may decide, gosh, now that I know what I want and what I want in a marriage and what I'm willing to do and what I'm willing to mourn that I don't get, I choose, to go ahead and dissolve this legal instrument of marriage, but do what's right for our children that we've birthed together. And I know that I am a parent for the rest of my days here on earth, and I want to be an attuned parent. And I've learned all my lessons, from the pain of my marriage. So I'm moving forward in a whole and complete way, understanding that I am always going to be part of a family, whether I'm legally, tied to them or not. The sacredness of that family still continues.
It never ceases. I have two kids with my first husband. I'm still in communication with him.
Yes.
It's been almost 30 years since we were divorced, and we
Mm,
were together for 13 years before that. It was, and it wasn't, it was painful, but it wasn't horrible when we got divorced.
mm,
I did not want to go to court and fight with him about anything. So I just gave him everything. I left the kids with him. I left the house with him. I left everything with him. And
mm,
then after the pain kind of subsided a little bit, then we were able to negotiate some of the other pieces that made life easier for everybody. But everybody had a say in it. It wasn't just like, mom's done and we're going to blow up the whole family. And I mean, you do end up blowing up a family when you do that. But the best things you can do are not to like disparage the other person, because your kids are part of both of you. They're not one or the other. And when you start chipping at that other person, then they're like, so this is the part of me you don't like? because, what else are they going to think?
Mm.
So
That's so, I didn't mean to cut you off, Jill, but that's so beautiful that at 43 years you've been in a relationship with your husband. I love that. And your decision then worked for you. And it was, hey, right now, let's just make it easy because it's really too painful otherwise. And that was intuitively a really smart thing to do. And then to go back when you got level-headed, so that you can make a plan and you can do things, and it worked for you. And it's really smart when a mother can say, or when any parent can say, that kid is a part of both me and their father, and I can't disparage part of my kid who has no well, I was going to say who didn't have any decision making in selecting the parents, but if we go into the spiritual world, we might go onto left field. But you know, the kid is innocent, and he's comprised of his self and of his parents. And it's
Mhm.
really respectful and responsible that you chose to take the high road. And so many of them don't. So many, I had a friend recently who was visiting Spain. She said the divorce rate in Spain, now she was in, I can't remember, it was Barcelona or some other city. And she said that the newspaper, and she's going to get me a copy of it, it showed a divorce rate of 80%. And here
Crazy.
in the yeah, and here, which is okay, but how many of them are done consciously? How many of them are done with dignity and with grace, even beyond amicable? It's like, hey, we are parting ways, but we're not parting the fact that you are a part of my life because we have this child forever. You're going to be around for the holidays, for the births of our children's, for graduations, for like it just and that person is tied to you for forever, so it's like
It,
do
yeah,
the work. Yeah.
there's not a lot you can do about it. And even when your kids are older, like my kids are in their 40s, some of them. And my current husband, when we go to California, we all get together. My husband gets along fine with my ex-husband. I, they share the same birthday. So
Wow. Wow, I wonder, are they similar in personality? Or I mean, their charts are this really close to each
they're
other?
6 years apart, but they're born on the exact same day, which I don't know. It says more about them or me.
Maybe both.
Both.
You have a soul contract with whatever they came down with.
Yeah, and I do believe in soul contracts, and I do believe the kids that are born into these relationships, they're born into it for a reason. There's something they're supposed to learn, and um, painful though a lot of these things can be, they're they're going to learn what they're going to learn, and it's their journey. It's not mine. And you know, as a parent, you want to make things easier for your kids. That there's going to be trauma. We all you don't you don't escape childhood without some sort of trauma.
Oh
Just
gosh, I that's what I tell everyone. Like trauma is not what's the word? Like it doesn't care. It's non-discriminatory. You're either going to get traumatized inadvertently or intentionally at home. And if you are lucky enough not to have that at home, then when you go to school, it's going to happen there. Like it's going to happen somewhere. And I came to that conclusion like, oh my God, if we all get traumatized, um, okay, so I guess it's just a universal thing that happens to all human beings. And that must be for, since we live in an infinite, helpful and benevolent universe, it must be for our higher purpose and good, And so I just came to that dawning on my own, but it's what all the great leaders and transformational leaders and masters all talk about, that we learn through friction. And the moment that we surrender and we feel our feelings and we glean the wisdom from our feelings and then we release it, we're the better for it. And I remember hearing, like, I remember when I first heard that from, I can't remember who, maybe Michael Singer, when I first read his book years and decades ago. And I was like, I'm going to be happy because of this tragedy that happened to me. Like, I'm going to be better for it. And then now I can look back and I can go, oh my God, I don't want it to happen again, but I am certainly better because of that.
Mhm.
And
It's the
I think,
lessons we learn, and eh, if we can look at the trauma and not let it like keep impacting us, I think we get into trouble as human beings when we steep in the trauma and we don't like move away from it, and we can't look at the lessons that we learn from it and appreciate it. It's, I think, in the gratitude for the challenge. It So long as we remain a victim of the situation or the um whatever happened to us, then we're always looking on the outside for somebody to rescue us. But
mm,
once we step into our power, and we are all powerful, we can all change our minds. And really, that's all it amounts to. It's changing your mind about how you view something that happened, and it changes the event. There's there's evidence about this,
oh, God, so
because
true.
we all remember things differently. So you're not even actually remembering what happened in reality. We
Mm.
create our realities by the way we think, and just change the way you think about it will change
I mean,
how the
it's so
event happened.
it's so lovely to speak with you about these things. Because a lot of times I feel like I'm a divorce mediator and a relationship expert. That's I'm actually a spiritual coach that's fronting as a divorce mediator and a relationship restart coach, because these deeper conversations is, for me, it's what it's all about. And personal development, I know, like, when I look back at my life, what is my dharma? It's everything I've been doing, no matter if I was depressed or working too much or whatever. I have always been in personal development. And I wrote this book called How to Stay Married by a Divorce Attorney. And it has nothing to do with the law, except towards the end. It helps you think, if you're in a situation where maybe we are going to split ways, how to kind of get yourself grounded into that decision and to how to prepare, with respect to, money and finances and marital property and
Property.
all that stuff, and how you want to raise agreement on these. So there's things that you can do um, on your own, just as a conversation. Um, oh man, I lost my train of thought. Where was I going with that?
Personal development and
Oh, personal
having to,
development. It's all about looking at your marriage struggles as a mirror. And I always normally have a mirror with me whenever by my desk, as a mirror reflecting back to me the things that I don't like about myself, or the things that are within me that are stored that I haven't handled. And like you were saying, if people can just change their perspective, and that is why I love my Stop, Drop, and Roll Baby Bootcamp course that's coming up. I developed a course because, when my daughter was like, Mommy, please make it stop. I was like, okay, how do I stop arguing? I mean, I am right. If my husband would change, I wouldn't have to prove myself. I wouldn't have to, do these. I wouldn't have to be arguing and losing my shorts in front of my kid. And so, the did you grow up in the States in the 70s?
no, but I know
Okay.
what you're talking about.
The stop, drop, and roll that was taught
Yeah,
to
yeah, 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 yeah.
elementary kids, to stop fueling the flames and drop to the floor, and protect your face and your head, and then roll in a blanket or a carpet so you can put out the flames. And that is also, it works, this technique works when couples are on fire too. And so when the fire is stopped, and the cortisol is relaxed, we actually can change our perspective. once we're rolling into self-care. And so that's how I teach it, is the stopping and the dropping are acts of self-love. And the self-care is the rolling into your wholeness. That's when you meditate. That's when you go hug a tree and get grounding. That's when you reach out to a coach or to someone that you trust that can help you. That's where you lavish your body with prana foods, with you're not drinking alcohol and numbing yourself. You're taking care of yourself so you can have access to what we are equipped with, a relational mind. We are equipped with a relational mind, but the problem is the rubber meets the road in relationships. And that is I learned from Helen Hendricks and Harville Hendricks, who wrote the book. They wrote many books. But I learned from them that our subconscious picks our partners. It actually winnows out, not you, because there's how many males and females do we have? So how does it find the one? It's like, not him, not him, not him, not him. Oh, ding, ding, ding. That's the one. And they choose a partner. Your subconscious chooses your partner because it's like, this person is going to give you this, approximates all your caregivers and family and teachers that traumatized you. And now that you're an adult, you can handle it. You can become whole again. You can reclaim these parts that are still frozen in time. But we didn't get the memo, right? We were like so in love and we had high hopes. And then we were like enshrouded with expectations and needs and cultural things and the multi-generational trauma that we come with too. This is why divorce is 50% or more in the United States and 80% in Spain, because we did not learn. We were not told how, that we were also going to love and we were also going to heal ourselves through our relationships. And so when we learn to go inwards and we stop contributing to the fighting and we drop all our needs and expectations and we roll into self-care, we then can change our perspective and say, oh my God, there's a better way. I don't have to walk on eggshells. I don't have to have World War III just to get my needs met. I don't have to throw a relationship saboteur of blaming and shaming and judging. I don't have to make my husband wrong so he can finally do what I want him to do. Like all that stuff we can let go, and like when you said earlier, if we don't just steep in our pain, we can move forward. And that's the beautiful thing about our relational brain, because we are trained to, we also have this limbic system that's always on the prowl. It's always looking for danger. This is going to be uncomfortable. This is going to be not so not harmonious. And then when that happens, to the degree that happens, our relational mind, the neocortex kind of like it loses its stronghold, because it has to make room for the attack, the defense. And if we were just to feel our feelings and just not invert on ourselves, not to, we failed again, we lost it again, or he always does this. If we can just go, God, that sucks. This is what anger feels like. And in 3 minutes, the heaviest emotions can actually express themselves out if we don't keep feeding them. So it's just 3 minutes. So I was like, when I learned that, I was like, I got 3 minutes. I can stop and I can drop my relational saboteur. I talk about these 7 relationship saboteurs. I can stop that for 3 minutes, but if I don't feed it, and I'm doing some self-care, I'm going to give myself 3 minutes. If I still want to, I'm going to give myself the right to do that. But I was noticing, and to my surprise, but even more to my husband's surprise, that we stopped arguing. And, that was a miracle. Just doing that simple stop, drop, and roll. So I have this course I teach within the stop, drop, and roll is the 7 relationship saboteurs. Can I just share them with your
I would love that.
audience? Okay. So I studied with Terry Real, who I'm just The teacher appears when the student is ready. Thank you. I think I got the best teacher. And he talks about 5 losing strategies and that happen or occur within a struggling union. And I took them as my own and then added 2 more to them. And I call them the relationship saboteurs. And this is what I did, and there's different levels of stop, drop, and roll. I have a level 1 and then a level 2 and then, a level 3. So basically it's for the battle weary wife who has children and she's struggling with her husband who refuses to go to therapy. She can stop. She's battle weary, right? She can stop, drop, and roll and change the perspective and the condition of her marriage without her husband doing jack shit, pardon my French. And it is so powerful that we get to step into our leadership for our children and even for our husband, because we're not taking it personally. So the 7 relationship saboteurs that once I learned them, and there's nuances to them, but once I learned them and I dropped them, I was able to change my perspective. And the first one, well, they're not in any particular order, but it's being controlling. And a version of control is walking on eggshells. I'm trying to control the outcome from my husband. So I'm going to walk on eggshells. I stopped doing that. So no more controlling. Can't control another adult. Can't. And then, it doesn't work. I stopped being defensive because I don't have to protect myself from my husband. He loves me. I love him. I don't have to, I'm dropping my defensive. I don't have defenses. I don't have to defend myself inside my marriage. I don't have to do that. And then I stopped blaming, shaming, and judging him. I stopped the unbridled use of self-expression. Like, you always do this. You're never on time. Like, I just stopped it because it doesn't work. And so what else? I never really used withdrawal. That's mostly my husband's. That was his big relationship saboteurs. He would withdraw. He would be dismissive and withdraw. And then I would be needy and go after him. And that was like our relational dance, like very discordant. And retaliation, there's all kinds of retaliation. There's the simple kind like, I see his shoelaces not tied. I'm not going to tell him. He deserves to fall. That's an act of retaliation. Or like the more egregious retaliations. Well, I slept with my neighbor because he had an affair. I'm just not doing that. So I dropped all 7 of those relationship saboteurs. And when I self-cared, I looked at all the reasons why I got angry and I held the mirror. And anything that I was accusing my husband with, I went in and said, can I find it? Did I do that somewhere to myself even? Oh, yes, I did. So it's really these profound things to know to keep us, to help us become more sane and therefore happy. So
I love them all. And as someone who's been married for 28 years, each one of those is crucial to having a successful marriage, and being able to look at your spouse and ask yourself the question, when you feel the need to like blow up at somebody, do I just want to be the victim here? Is that what this is all about? Because a lot of times it is, when you're like washing that dish for the last time, even though you've told them a million times, don't leave dishes in my sink. At some point you just got to get over it and let it go and recognize that there's other things that they're doing that you don't like to do. Like, maybe the dish is always in the sink. And maybe there's a reason why it's in the sink. And this is a true story in my relationship. It's the mason jar. I buy a wide mouth mason jars because I can put my hand in them. And so I assume everyone can. Mm-hmm. But my husband likes to make his shakes in the mason jar, and then he leaves it in the sink to soak, as I put in air quotes. And every day I wash that stupid thing. And every day I think, God, why can't you just wash it? You're over here anyway. And you turn the water on. And I asked him one time, because, first you do the, please wash the dish, please wash the dish. And that doesn't seem to work. He's just like, it's just soaking. And then he finally admitted he can't put his hand in the mason jar. I was like, wow.
Oh,
So when I washed the mason jar for him, it's like it's an act of kindness
oh,
because he can't do it.
mhm. Isn't that
But I never
lovely?
knew.
That is such a profound truth.
Mhm.
Like there must be a reason that he doesn't do that. And that
Yeah.
curiosity is what I teach. Well, I don't teach, I mean, I share that
Mhm.
curiosity really is our number one universal panacea in relational disharmony. And when
Yeah.
you asked him, like, why don't you already turned on the water, you already put the soap in there, like just the extra step of just, doing a little shimmy, shimmy and shaky, shaky. It's not
Yeah.
that easy for me, Jill. My big manly hands cannot fit into this jar. And then it's like, and now
Yeah.
when you wash it, do you like now? Do you just aren't you just so happy that you didn't lose your
Yeah.
shorts?
Yeah.
And you get to celebrate in your
Mhm.
magnificence that, hey, God, I am so happy I didn't lose my shorts for something that's so simple. Now he is helping me. He's actually doing everything he possibly can. And what he can't do,
Yeah.
because I'm his wife and I love him, I'm going to take over. And I just
Mhm.
love that you said that. And you also said, I really love that you said there are some things you just have to get over. And when I when I first meet a battle weary wife, I let her have her day in court, and I say it's a process.
Mhm.
It's a this, it's a that, it's a this. We just let it all out because she's been repressing it and holding on to it and just being so aggravated, and she's unknowingly victimizing herself with it. But so that she has the relational mind to be curious and say, why don't you do this? I'm just curious. You've done step one and step two. Step three is just so easy. Oh, mechanically, it's not possible, or physically, it's not possible. I get it. Oh, thank you for doing all that you're doing. It is just so beautiful.
And to learn to appreciate the things that they are doing. You know, I- I've had to learn this and there's a couple of things that my husband does do that I never have to say anything about. It just magically happens.
Mm.
One of them is putting gas in our car. I haven't put gas in the car in months. He just always fills the car up. Yeah, he does drive it most of the time, but I just,
It's
I
always
never get
gas
in the
when you need
car.
it.
I never get in the car and find it, running out of gas. There's always gas when I need to use the car. And the other thing is taking the trash out. I he was a truck driver, so he's gone all the time. And so I would always have to take the trash out, did all the dishes, to clean the house and to take the trash out and mow the lawn. And he mows the lawn now. I mean, I it sounds like these are little simple things, but they're huge things in my life. They
Oh,
they sucked up a lot of my time.
well, like the appreciation that you are sharing with me is so beautiful because that is part of cherishing, and we forget
Mhm.
to do that. And you are not a battle weary wife, so
Mm-mm.
you are accessing your love and you are being appreciating, which is an arm of cherishing. And you are also celebrating when you kept it together and stayed in curiosity, because you could have been upset, you could have lost your shorts, but you didn't.
Yeah.
And you're celebrating your own magnificence. And it really is appreciating your partner and appreciating oneself, for the choice, because we are always equipped with choice points on planet Earth, or the school, like Earth School. We have free will, and uh, I really would like to spend the rest of my lives making the best choices whenever those choice points come my way. And I now know what's important to me. my husband is my husband and my daughter are the two most important people in my life. So they get my relational brain. They get it. Before it used to be my clients, my neighbors, the people on the supermarket line or the bank, they would get the best of me. And the two most important would get the worst of me. But I reverse that. Well, now that my life is now that we have a sacred family, I bring that love everywhere, but first it starts with me and the people that I just absolutely adore. So you said something else really brilliant, and I'm just so happy to talk to someone who's not a relationship coach, but it's doing the smart work. And you celebrate what is right in your relationship, and it's so brilliant, Jill. And so many people were programmed because of our limbic system and because of our the sonar that's looking for any kind of danger. We're programmed to look at the negative. But when you are smart and I say wise, when you're wise enough to go, what is right? My husband always fills the gas tank. If it's 3 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning, I never have to worry about having a gas that's empty, gas tank that's empty. That is so much peace and security. And it's also, it promotes peace and it stops chaos, like we're always running late and oh my God, we got to get gas too, so it's like, it's a big gift, and taking out the trash at night when there's, we live in a place where we have a lot of wild animals. And so I like that your husband takes and that I like even more that you appreciate that he's taken out the trash. Like, you don't have to ask him. It's just done. And it's so beautiful. So I always, when my wife comes to me, I'm like, why did you marry him? And they're always surprised, but it's like, we have to remember that we loved our husband, and we have to celebrate what is right. And we have to ask for our needs to be met when there are stuff that's not so right. And if it's impossible because of some physical thing or limitation or some, mechanical thing, then we mourn what we don't have because we have so much.
Yeah.
And then we know from all the greats, all the masters, the ascended masters, and all the beautiful transformational people, they tell us we need nothing from no one. We have everything. We have all that we need. So when we wake up to that fact, then it's how can I cherish you? How can we enjoy each other as we are both, facing life as it unfolds for us? Sometimes it's scary. Sometimes it's hard. How can we be supportive in our journey, in our co-journeys as we co-create the life that we want to have? So I love everything that you're saying.
And I think you made an interesting point there when you're talking about doing your own personal work. We were taught when I was young that, when you got married, it was two halves coming together to be a whole. I don't think that's true. I think it's two wholes coming together to make a strong bond. Two individuals who are perfectly capable in their own right of doing everything that they need to do to be a human being, to feed themselves and clothe themselves and have a life. And when two whole people come together, they're not broken. They don't have to stand and lean on each other because that other person is not your crutch. He's your partner. And two partners that are equally, talk about equally yoked, that are matched. They're a good match. And sometimes, you marry young and you're not a good match. Get over it, move on. Somebody else is out there that is a good match for you. Go find that person. Don't try to just drag it on and on and on for the kids' sake, because all you're going to do is damage those kids too, because you're going to teach them to be disempowered. So
exactly,
make the decision, but recognize that It's not about being half a person. You need to be a whole person. You need to know who you are and what you're about and what your values are and what your standards are. And it all goes back to, marriage is a contract. Have some hard conversations with this person while you're in the lovey-dovey stage. What what are your expectations for this relationship? What do you hope to get from me? Do you do you envision us growing old together? Have you ever thought about what it's going to be like when one of us is injured or can't do stuff, or what's that going to look like? Because
Yeah.
we're not always going to be young.
Yeah, that's absolutely beautiful. All of what you said is beautiful. And when I think back to the two become one, two become two and honor the space between, the two. It's not like, what I did, and I'm not begrudging myself, but I'm hoping that maybe I'm wondering, my intention is to speak to that lady who was just like me, who had all these expectations, that when she got married, her life would get started. When I married my husband, oh my God, that poor guy, I had put so much expectations on him to meet so many of my needs that only I could complete and fulfill myself. And I love that you said that, you brought this up, because when I came to my marriage, I was like Swiss cheese. I was not whole and complete. I had all these holes and I was looking at him to fill them. And he was like, well, after the lovey-dovey stage, holy crap, like, this is way too exactly, and so yeah, when two whole individuals come together, it is the sharing of love and the actual co-creation of a life together. And like you say, if it doesn't work out because, when you picked your partner, um, you were young, you know, it's like, all right, we just need to separate because I don't want to be with you anymore, but I don't want to, I don't mean you any bad will. I just, we're better off you going this way and me going this way, So I think that's just that comes, unless we have upbringing where we are around wise and loving adults or who are choosing full respect living, we can make those kinds of decisions. We can have those kinds of conversations. In fact, we pull in people to the degree at which how whole we are. So as Swiss holy as I was, my husband was too, just different holes. He I had different holes, he had different holes, but we were pretty equal in our holes. We were not two whole beings. I had to learn that. And I'm really proud. I'm really proud that I did that for myself, and I did that for my daughter, and I did that for my husband, who now has the freedom to do his own work, because I did mine. And our love that we share is so deep and so sweet. And I just want that for everyone.
I I couldn't be more proud of you. It's really, it doesn't happen very often that people recognize that, hey, it starts with me. And until I do something about me, I can't really expect anything to change around me. Because ultimately, the life and the reality that we create starts in our heads. And it's what we're thinking about, and the decisions we make impact the way that we live our lives, the way reality forms around us. And we can change it, and it may not change on the outside immediately, but it will change. It's the whole reaping and sowing thing. You don't sow in the same season that you reap. You make different decisions, and a little bit down the road, you'll start to see the fruit of those better decisions. You're still going to suffer the consequences of your other decisions, but make better decisions. You'll have a better life.
That's so beautiful. And I I wrote an ebook called The Sacred Pause for the Battle Weary Wife. And I wanted to share that with you and also your audience, because if you're in a relationship where you don't know WTF happened, and you can't get a grip on your emotions, and you're raising a kid or children, and you're feeling anxious and depressed, I also did not come from a family that was steeped in the tradition of going to church every Sunday. You know, my dad was like, uh, um, my dad had these ideas about church that were, you know, if you don't walk a tight rope or a tight line, then you're kind of outcast, or you're judged. And so he didn't want any part of that. And my mom, wasn't very biblical or religious. So my religion came to me, my spirituality and religion came to me pretty early on in life, when my sister was killed in a car accident, and she was 17 and I was 19. And I knew at that point, I cannot be alone. I know that I'm not supposed to be on this earth suffering to this degree without any help. There has to be help. And so there, when I was 19 is when I became a Buddhist, you know, and then eventually I studied religion. I went to India for a month. I met gurus, but I wrote this ebook for the battle weary wife who is not it doesn't have a place to call doesn't have a spiritual home, or and I it is what I did to help me after my daughter told and begged me to stop, to make the arguing stop. It's what I did to help me return home to myself, and to be able to change my perspective, and to be able to be an attuned mother, and to be a spiritual leader for my family. So it's what I did. There are techniques and the things that I've done, that I did, that helped me become more resourced. And I heard somebody say something recently, and I don't know who it was, but some great person said, when you're connected to source, and you said this too, you're like, we're disempowered. I feel like the moment we lose connection to source, we do become disempowered. But when we're connected to source and we reconnect, we're resourced, you know, so let's stay resourced. And so my Sacred Pause ebook is for the battle weary wife who wants to empower herself and connect herself to her truth. And it's what I did that helped me gain my sanity and gain control over my life, my inner life, and my outer life too, as much as I'm supposed to take care of. That's the business, that's mine. I got that. Everything else, I'm like, God, it's yours. That's on you, traffic. That's on you, client, you know, what clients come to me. That's on you, you know, if the internet goes down, you know. But how I respond, how I maintain my inner ecosystem of peace and love, that's up to me. And I take that responsibility. I choose full respect living. I choose to stay open. I choose to be a light for others. And you know, surprisingly, I am meeting a whole bunch of light leaders. And when I teach them what I do, they go, oh my God, I still do that. And I'm like, yes, we don't know what we're doing is creating havoc in our marriage. It is okay. But once you know the truth of what we do, then and if you choose not to, then you're going to be the effect of it, you know? So it's like, here's the road. It's simple. It's 3 things: stop, drop, roll. Super easy. But it's always a choice to do.
I love that you make it so easy, because it doesn't need to be hard.
It
We
doesn't.
try to complicate everything in life, and
Everything.
it just really, the whole art of being present is simple. It's like, it's gonna happen later. No, maybe it will, maybe it won't. Let's be curious and see what happens.
Are you familiar with Ram Dass?
Mm-mm.
Okay, he's this really interesting fellow. I hope I get the facts right, but he was I believe, either a Harvard professor or maybe he was a student at Harvard. And he was working with the psychedelics, LSD, and
Mhm.
he was gaining a lot of recognition, and people were having like major healings. And he went to India and he met a guru, Maharishi Yogi. I'm not really familiar. I can't remember the name of his guru. And he was so smart. He was so intellectual. He was so brilliant. The guru gave him a Shakti pot, which I believe means he basically helped him have an out of body experience. And he took his soul out of his body. And it just enough to get him out of his head. He was really brilliant. And he came back a changed man, and he wrote this book called Be Here Now, and it's like a really big best-selling book. And he's no longer with us. He dropped his body, I want to say maybe in 2014 or 2015. And he's also Love Here Now. He's written several books and he has quite a following. But when I came up with Stop Drop Roll, when I saw that, I was like, oh, I can do that. I can stop contributing to the arguing. I can drop all my needs and all the relationship saboteurs, and I can roll myself into self-care and change my perspective, and therefore be better because of it, and be better for myself, be better for my child, be better for my family. So I get a little carried away when I talk about this because it's just so simple and brilliant, you know?
It is. It is. And how can people find you, Veronica, if they wanted to?
Okay, so they can find me on relationshiprestart.net. And if you go to relationshiprestart.net/book, you can get two things. One, you can download my Sacred Pause for the Battle Weary Wife book. Then you can also sign up for alerts to receive alerts of the publication of my book, How to Stay Married by a Divorce Attorney. That is probably coming out. Like I have my book outline. I'm done with my book by the end of this year. I have proofreaders, and I have to give my book to several people so they can write their praiseworthy testimonial of my book. And then my publisher just needs 3 months to do what they do. So that, I believe, all, in God's hands, it would be published in the second quarter of next year.
So once this episode drops, it's going to be real soon, people. So
Yeah.
be looking for it. I am really looking forward to reading that, Veronica.
Thank you.
I think it's going to be spectacular.
And I have a Stop, Drop, Roll Baby boot camp. Now I do have one coming up on January 19 of 2024. But I also will be having a Stop, Drop, Roll Baby boot camp for the next, I say I'm going to have it pretty regularly every month after that, but I'm not going to charge for it. It's free. So if you make this available to your people after my initial boot camp of next year, then if they want to join for free when I offer it in February, all they have to do is mention Jill Hart, and they can come to my boot camp for completely free. So they get a Sacred Pause ebook for the Battle Weary Wife, and it's for only females, only for wives with children, married to husbands that refuse therapy. And then they get to have the free Stop, Drop, Roll Baby boot camp.
Perfect.
That's in
Perfect.
February.
And we'll make sure that we put that in the show notes so that people can come and join you. I think this is going to be amazing.
Thank
So,
you.
what's the one thing you want to leave the audience with today?
Stop contributing to the arguments. Drop the relationship saboteurs, which are, I'll repeat, being controlling, being defensive, withdrawing, blaming, shaming, or judging, retaliating. Did I get him? How many was that? Oh, and drop the unbridled self-expression. So drop those and roll into self-care and read my book. So if you don't have these spiritual or self-care practices, you can at least follow the ones that I did that helped me save my sanity.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. I knew this was going to be a great call.
Oh, thank you. The pleasure is all mine, Jill. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the You World Order or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.